Thank you, Ryan. Mugisha, thank you for taking your time this morning. Appreciated. So we're just going to kick off briefly with a brief introduction into Hudaco Kenya, who we are, and how we are positioned in the market. What's our product focus, and then I can then hand over the session to my co-host. So just from an introduction perspective, my name is Terry Wafula. I am the regional and country manager for Hudaco Kenya. And my focus is really around promoting our products across East and Sub-Saharan Africa. Alongside myself is my co-host Ryan Danford, who's our product manager for our focus today, which is on BDCOM, and he sits in our sister company Miro in South Africa. Ryan, thank you very much for making the time. So at this point, I will just share my screen and request that you confirm that you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's up.
Fantastic, great. So just a brief introduction into who we are. Hudaco Kenya is part of the Hudaco Industries group of companies, and we are a leading value-added distributor of quality, innovative, integrated security, IP-enabled voice and video and telecommunication solutions to the East African market as well as the Sub-Saharan market. We believe that IP technology is the future for communication, and it really should be accessible to everyone. And thus, therefore, we've got a team of IP converged professionals who are dedicated to taking your business to the next level. We believe we need to empower you in order to be able to connect communities. In addition to that, we're really focused on bringing, new technology into our operational market space. And we do that through, such sessions, such webinar sessions where we focus on specific products. We look at, what value-added opportunities they bring to us and into the market. And we also help you as our partners to be able to position them rightfully to your customers. And our approach to providing these solutions, of course, is from a value-added perspective. So we do offer, holistic end-to-end solution, right from the scoping of the solution to the delivery of the product, to the implementation support, as well as post-implementation support, leveraging off the team that we have here. From an experience perspective, we boast of over 17 years of industrial knowledge. So that gives us, an opportunity to actually be able to talk really, professionally about the solutions that we bring, to the table. We urge you to continuously engage with us through the mailers that we send to you, as well as on our social media handles. On LinkedIn is at Hudaco Kenya, and post this session, you will also receive an email from us with the address to our YouTube channel, where you will be able to have access to this webinar session as well as other webinar sessions that we've had at your own time and convenience. And you can also share this with your partners, with your clients, as well as with your peers. So why then Hudaco Kenya? As I mentioned to you, our approach to the market is really from holistic perspective, where we deliver tailor-made solutions using our team of experts who help you create the perfect solutions that will be able to address your needs really from a planning perspective. And so we want to engage with you right at the initial stages of any project. In addition to that, we do partner with a number of top international manufacturers to source solutions that meet your specific needs for yourselves as well as for your customers. And of course, these solutions are backed by our superior technical support and training, such as this. We focus on the whole array of solutions, as you can see from my screen right now, right from Wi-Fi all the way to Internet of Things. So some of the vendors that we have partnered with include our focus for today's discussion, BDCOM, who provide us with LTE solutions. From a broadband solution perspective, we've got Ubiquity, Cambium, Microtech. From a mobile perspective, we've got Teltonica, who are also really focused on bringing solutions that take us to the next level as far as ICT is concerned, and that's Internet of Things. From a VoIP and unified communication perspective, we've got GrandStream. From a security perspective, we have partnered with organizations such as Uniview, such as Access, and Cambium, really from their CN Vision offering. From a networking perspective, of course, we've got Ubiquity, we've got Microtech, and our very new entrant so far is BDCOM. So that just gives you an idea of who we are and what our focus is. I have talked about support. Support for us is really, really key, and that's really what we focus on. The solutions that we bring to you, we believe that have got to be top of breed. And so we have, engaged very closely with the regulatory authorities in each of the countries that we operate in to ensure that we take this equipment through type approval process and really just position them rightly in the markets that we operate in. We understand that COVID-19 really has thrown a curveball into business, operations and landscape. And because of that, we have come up with, innovative ways in which we can be able to help you, help your organizations, service your customers in time, allowing you to be able to then, pay us over a period of time. And so we've engaged into our credit application process, allowing you to access financing to be able to service your customers. Very, very big on training again. I'm just repeating myself, but this is really our focus. We really want to empower both individuals, organizations, as well as communities. And so therefore, we have these webinar sessions that allow us to be able to engage with you directly. We also have Mirror Academy, sitting in South Africa from our sister company, where you have access to certification, allowing you to get certification for the products that you focus on. And I'm sure that Ryan will talk more about that towards the end of our session. So that's a brief introduction from us. Please visit our website. That's www.hudaco.africa for more information around our products and also just to be able to engage with us directly. So at this juncture, I'd like to hand over the session to Ryan, whose focus today will really be around changing the game for service providers in the areas that we operate in. So Ryan, over to you, and thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Terry. That was a great introduction. And thank you to our participants that are joining us today. Today, we're going to be looking at BDCOM, a full end-to-end ISP fiber provider. We'll talk a little bit about what makes the brand so valuable and also some very impressive feats that the brand has accomplished over the course of 3 to 5 years. Hudaco and BDCOM have been in partnership for about 4 to 5 years, and since then have connected some of the largest ISPs in Southern Africa to some form of fiber networking provider. Since the advent of BDCOM, we've been able to help connect over hundreds of thousands worth of fiber to the home and fiber to the business customers, specifically because BDCOM is designed for a mid-level capacity equipment that is designed to just essentially be a layer 2 bridge connecting a customer device through to the core internet. And we'll discuss a little bit more about how internet is structured, and we'll talk about the different tiers of service providers. But ultimately, the main aim for this webinar is for the participants to see the value within BDCOM and to also understand the opportunities behind the brand. Because apart from BDCOM being a fantastic functional brand, fiber is no longer just a trend. So initially when we launched BDCOM, fiber was very trendy. Everyone wanted fiber, 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 fiber. Fiber has become more of a consistent word in our vocabulary now. Even when we start designing fixed wireless broadband networks, there's going to be a fiber uplink somewhere. And now, how does this relate to Kenya? Well, your Kenya government signed up an agreement to bring 80 gigabits worth of internet connectivity through to the shores of East Africa. Now, that is amazing. So South Africa, they followed the blueprint of South Africa when it came down to now tier 2 providers owning parts of the network, because guys like us, end users as we like to call, we can't go into the ocean and connect 80 gigabits worth of fiber. We don't have the resources or the capabilities in order to do that. So what we need is we need guys like Safaricom and all of those large ISPs, or I think in Kenya they're referred to as technology providers. Fiber is very much a technology, and the difficulty that the Kenya market is seeing is that there's not enough people that are taking it on the last mile. So that's, in my perspective, the major difference between South Africa's fiber uptake and Kenya's fiber uptake. So there's three main tiers of service providers. You have a tier 1 provider that is basically the ones that put the fiber cable in the ocean and that connect continents. Then you have the tier 2 guys like Safaricom, and I have a few other names of some of your big guys. Let me just see here. Oh, yeah, Telkom Kenya, Wanachi Group, Access Kenya. So basically, all of these guys provided capital in order for Kenya to bring 80 gigabits worth of fiber connectivity through to the East African shore. Now, the opportunity, guys, there is huge. Now, we're not all trying to be Safricoms. We're not all trying to be huge tier 2 guys. Not all of us have the capital and equity in order to launch a sustainable business like that. But the real opportunity is within a tier 3 provider who does not own any of the physical infrastructure. They basically just resell. Now, I'll get a bit more into that, but let's stick for now to the main areas of our agendas. So we'll look at a fibers distribution network. We'll look at why BDCOM, what is passive optical LAN, some of the fantastic offerings we have on BDCOM switches, what is the difference between GPON and EPON, and how can a network management software help empower your business to monitor and maintain networks efficiently and timelessly. And lastly, as we always like to drive home, we offer training. All right. So this is the best way that I can visually explain to the participants exactly how fiber networking is broken up, or any type of broadband connectivity. Now, any type of transmission medium, be it wireless, 3G, MPLS, fiber networking, it's basically data running from one node to another node. Now, you need carriers. All right, so you need carriers that can help take you from one point to another point. So you can all see that we would be sitting here. Some of us would have businesses that would, fit this mold, but most of us, we are home users, and we all sit in these nice little block houses with our routers. Now, this is what we consider, or what the terminology refers to as last mile. Now, it's more than just a mile. We're not just talking about a physical distance. It's more of an analogy. Last mile means it's the last bit between the customer, which is essentially called an endpoint. That's the end of your network, because after that, it's just connectivity. And then everything is layer 2 from that. So the real opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, lies within the last mile distribution, because this is basically where the Kenya market is. You guys have got amazing capacity coming in to your region. You then have got tier 2 providers that can basically bridge the gap. But what I believe is the issue in the Kenya market is that these guys are acting a bit monopolistic. They're taking the fiber directly through to the home, and it's kind of it's a difficult position to be in, because these guys have got huge scale economics, and they basically can get fiber into this ONU. If they're taking it from the central point, they can get it very cost effectively. But the real business model is a layered supply chain. Basically, you have your core provider, your manufacturer, if you will, of the connectivity. Then you need the distributor, which would be the tier 2 provider. Lastly, you have the installer, and that's basically the main opportunity. And that's what we've seen just locally. We have a very large ISP market. It's not saturated, because I think there's 50 odd million South Africans with only about 8 million having connectivity. So there's huge opportunity there. Now, not all of us have the cash to go and take fiber cable and put it in the ground and build. Leave that to someone else. Basically, what you can do is you can go to that specific provider, Safaricom, for instance, and say, listen, I want to take fiber to this business park, or I want to take fiber to this estate. I want to take fiber to these homes. I would like 5 gigabits worth of capacity. Okay, cool. That means that is now your input, that is your cost. So essentially now you as the business, you need to add a markup to your services and then start selling them through to the customer. And basically that is the whole business model. But the challenge for tier 3 guys is that it's very competitive. It's a very competitive landscape because you're working on very low margins. But that is where working with providers like Hudaco are in your best interest, because we can offer equipment at a very empowering rate that can help enable you to sign up more customers. So being able to not just go through to a business, but go through to homes, go through to an antenna, you can even be the building block between another last mile provider and a tier 2 provider. From what we've seen, tier 2 providers, because of their scale and size, they feel like they can often just dictate things, which they probably can because they've got the ability to build the road. Remember, we're the drivers, we're the courier companies. If there's no road, we can't do anything. So we need the guys to build the infrastructure. And that's the nice thing about infrastructure, ladies and gentlemen, is that once it's built, it pretty much just gets used and you just need to pay a toll, which is essentially a fee to the provider. And that's essentially where the business model case is. So what we're trying to do, Hudaco Kenya, is we're trying to build the business case to develop a larger tier 3 service provider range, because it helps create a more competitive market. It helps create lower pricing for customers, which means more customers, and it creates equitable supply chain where there's no monopolistic behavior and there's no large companies flexing their resources and capabilities. But ultimately, this optical distribution network is where the cash is, because once you've built the network, as we say, you just start reselling services. If you can ensure that this business is now part of your supply chain, and let's just say your margins will be low, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why your margins are low is because you don't own anything. And if Safaricom can just sell to the end user directly, what's the point of having you there? There is no point. You want to try and act as a service provider that can offer better services through than Safaricom. Let Safaricom deal with building. Let them build more networks so that more guys can then come up on the last mile and start connecting all these homes, businesses, and towers. So that's about all that I want to say on layer 2 network. There are products on offer, software packages that can help increase TCP authentication, but I think that's a conversation for another time. From what I've seen is that the Kenya market just needs to continue on growing their base, but then I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in terms of the tier 3 providers, because it's a more of a lean business model, because you're essentially purchasing an uplink for a certain cost. You're then adding your markup, and then you're basically just reselling and putting in devices and all your expenses. So it's a very easy, I would say easy, inverted commas, sustainable business model. And it's basically what helped blew up our wireless industry. And I think competitively speaking, we can say that South Africa is at the forefront of connectivity on FTTH and FTTE basis. When it comes down to LG 3G, we're pretty tight. We've got about 90% coverage, but those transmission mediums aren't necessarily the best for larger businesses that need, a decent bandwidth that is not throttled and that is not asymmetric. You want to make sure that you're getting 50 megs down, 50 megs up, and you want to make sure that all your applications are prioritized. So your ERP systems, any type of planning, material-based planning system, and things like IP video talk, Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams. These are all parts of UDP traffic that can help you prioritize your network, giving you better services. So where we're at right now within a South African context is that we're trying to help our tier 3 providers offer better services. Where the Kenya market still has an opportunity to grow is just developing more of the tier 3 customers that are basically the real MVPs of any country's network, because they're the ones that are working really hard. They're the ones that are on the ground speaking to customers, getting in the opportunities, doing the planning, and really trying to bring connectivity through to those that previously never had it. So hats off to them. And that's why you want to work with an industry body like Hudaco. We've been building ISPs for many, many years. We've got everything that you need. We can tell you exactly how to become a service provider, where to go, what you need, how long it's going to have to be. We can literally hold hands all the way up until the moment that you feel comfortable that you want to launch your business. And then after that, it's just support. And that's what we do, is we offer fantastic support. So enough about the optical distribution network. I can talk about it for days. I'm actually writing a small novel on it, joking, but let's move on. So why would you choose BDCOM above all? Well, I can tell you that I'm the BDCOM product manager and I'm extremely biased, but there's a reason for that. It's the same reason why I'm biased for Nike, why I am biased for BMW. I'm a brand person, I'm a product manager, I have an affinity for brands. And there are just some brands that clearly define their value proposition within the market and that differentiate themselves in and amongst their competitors. And BDCOM does that by being a brand for the internet service provider. Now, you don't just wake up one day and be a brand for the ISPs. It takes many years of bumping heads, of scraping elbows, of paying school fees. And through 20 years worth of operations, BDCOM is still alive. Now, when they say that, I think the number is 90% of startups fail within the first 5 years. If your business can sustain between 5 and 10 years, good for you. But if you've got anything longer than 20 years worth of operation, you've found your niche, you develop value, you have customers that appreciate your value, and it is sustainable. So what this tells me is that BDCOM is not going anywhere. They're here to stay. They're also not just some hotshot company that's, kind of burning the candle at both ends. They have a measured approach, and it's helped maintain a successful business model for over the past 20 years. And that's why we chose to work with them. Having a brand that sells one thing is great, but I don't feel like there are many brands that sell one thing. Sure, you can have a car manufacturer sell cars, but there's many different types of cars. So a brand that has a diversified product line appeals to a larger segment because everyone has their own independent requirements or demands. And a good vendor is able to scale their products and services to meet industry demands. And that's exactly what BDCOM did. So over the past 20 years, they have been diversifying their product lines. And now they sit very comfortably being a full end-to-end fiber ISP provider through their range of SFP switches, PON devices, PoE switches, any type of fiber networking equipment that you can think of. BDCOM has it. This is something that I learned after a few months of working within the with the brand. BDCOM shared their financial statements with me, and apart from just being shocked at the size of the company, looking at how much they spend on R&D was very enlightening, because I feel that for any tech company, your R&D is your marketing budget. Because if you're a tech company and you're not working on technology improvements or advancements, what are you doing? You will become EOL'd, you will become redundant, people will have no use for you. So creating a large aspect of a budget specifically for research and development means that BDCOM is throwing themselves into understanding the market, into researching the technology, and then to pushing out products that are aimed specifically for the market tier that they are operating in, which is networking. This is also fantastic. 32 different service centers. When you become a service provider, you become a 24/7 shop. Being a service provider is not easy. We've seen it. Being a service provider is hard. Well, if you think about it, you're serving people, and people are fickle, and people are moody, and lots of stuff goes wrong the more people that you work with. And ISPs are constantly having to wake up at extremely peculiar hours of the morning/night because their customer is trying to stream and their connectivity is not working and their router is unplugged. So there are many avenues that make service providing appealing, and in my opinion, there are many that make it less appealing. But where BDCOM comes in, being a brand for the ISP, is that they have 32 internationally recognized support service centers. So, which means that if you can't get help from our Hudaco Kenya team of qualified support engineers, then we can set you up directly with BDCOM, and there's no time difference. We will find a time zone that suits your application. This is not a case of working with a support center in China that is 9 hours ahead, or in America that is 12 hours behind. 32 different service centers all around the world. We will find someone that can help you in your time of need. But this is where training comes in as well. If you trained, you don't need help, you can fix it yourself. And that's where management and monitoring comes in. But that's a little bit on the NMS, that's a bit later. So OEM manufacturing. Now, anyone that has been part of supply chain, OEM, ODM, these are two very important pieces of terminology. OEM and ODM are manufacturing designs, original equipment manufacturing designs. So basically what happens is that you can have a large provider. So let's say Apple, for instance, they need to create 100 million iPhones. They do not do that themselves. They have different suppliers that can help source materials, but the people that build their phones are not Apple. Apple enlists an OEM manufacturer that creates equipment. So what Apple will do is they'll send them through a design and say, please, can you manufacture this phone for me, 100 million devices? And then what the OEM manufacturer does is that's it. That's their customer. That's all they do. They just manufacture that specific device. So BDCOM was originally an OEM manufacturer for large networking brands. And over the course of 20 years, when you're making products for other people, hopefully what starts to happen is that you start learning how to make very good quality products. So essentially then what you just need to do is you need to find accompanying software. And then once you have software and a hardware, you have a product. And that's essentially how BDCOM was birthed. They used their experience of being an OEM manufacturer, designing and manufacturing equipment for large networking brands. And then they got a few smart software people together, and boom, they developed what is now a world-renowned brand. So very simply, you don't have to recreate the wheel. You just need to find your wheel and build your car. Okay, nextly, or lastly, can I say, no, sorry, second to last, is the low RMA return rate. So on BDCOM, and Hudaco Kenya backs us as well, we offer a lifetime warranty on all of our fiber equipment and PoE switches. Now, you might be thinking, what's a lifetime warranty? It means for the lifetime of that particular device, we will hold the warranty. So BDCOM sees network switches being a fundamental part of any ICT topology, and they're correct in saying that because it is a layer 2 device, a data device that helps transmit data. So if that's down, your whole network is jiggered. It cannot perform. And then essentially what starts happening is that customers start coming back, returning things. So having a high RMA rate creates massive barriers for any ISP or any business to continue using a brand. Having low RMA rates means that the equipment works. You're not bringing it back all the time to get a replacement or fixed parts. And having a brand that backs a lifetime warranty means that they are very assured of the quality of their product. And this is a backing from the vendor. This is not a Hudaco Kenya promise. This is a BDCOM promise saying we put a lifetime warranty backing on all of our devices so that you have a surety knowing that if you install BDCOM on your network, it's not going down unless by some freak accident. Lastly, another big fundamental part of any networking brand is that it has to be open access. You cannot, unless you have a huge topology like a Ubiquiti or a Cisco or a Juniper, you can create full end-to-end products. And that, I feel, was the biggest debate between Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. closed versus open, end-to-end versus open access. Preferably, open access helps grow customer bases. There's no two ways about it. If you have a very expensive OLT, finding more cost-effective open access hardware helps enable you to connect more people. Having an end-to-end system creates more value for the cultural enablers, the people that are the loyalists to the brands. Now you think to yourself, okay, I've got two avenues here. I can either increase spend on my current customer, or I can increase the amount of customers that spend with me. And that's kind of what open access does. It helps create more opportunities because you're then able to use products on many different types of networks. All right, I hope everyone's enjoying the session. I'm really enjoying myself as well. I see we've had a few people join us. So welcome to everyone that is in the crowd with us. I hope you guys are enjoying the session today. We're talking about BDCOM and building great fiber networks for ISPs. So what is passive optical LAN, ladies and gentlemen? So LAN is obviously a local area network. It is not necessarily an internet breakout. It is basically just an internal network that connects multiple nodes through some form of fiber optic cable. Now, originally when we were building office spaces and business parks, we were using copper cables, but I think any African country that has an abundance of copper has an abundance of crime, because copper has value to it. It's a mineral, so it can be broken down and sold, whereas glass, not so much. And that's essentially what fiber optics is. It's glass. It's a glass cylinder. So the amount of material, the cost of the material is lower, and it has no value for criminals because essentially it's just glass and it can only be used for one thing, which is fiber optics. So if they steal it, they can use it for fiber, but then they'll probably need to take quite a bit and increases their chance of getting caught. So it's a lot safer to build your internal network on fiber now, because again, you reduce your own security risks. And if you want a high performing large capacity network, having fiber optic cables that can do speeds of 1 gig, 10 gigs fairly easily at quite a low cost, meaning that you as a business can run video, voice, data, IoT, access control, cloud hosting, servers, everything can be done on your own internal network. You're not going to have any bottlenecks. And anyone who's worked in any company that has VoIP, a bottleneck or some form of lag latency results in a deterioration of quality. And customers hate inefficient quality. I hate inefficient quality. We all despise inferior service. And that is how you will lose customers, is by having an inferior service. So build to grow, build to expand, build to be great. And that is what passive optical LAN is. Helps you save money while offering your customers more services. So now you go into customer's premise, you help build up their internet, you put out the Wi-Fi access points, you install the access control, you install the VoIP phones, you do the IP surveillance around the building, and everything's being done via fiber cable, which means that you have gigabit speeds running all along your building, all along your business, which means that all of that traffic is running at its fastest capacity, which means you have more opportunity to impress yourself and to retain customers and get word of mouth recommendations by installing fiber into a network instead of copper. And just some of the points that I've raised, the 3 main points, is that reduces risk due to less equipment deployed in the field. Literally with fiber, because it offers such large capacity, is that if you were to try and match fiber with copper, you would need a lot more copper, not necessarily copper cable, but just copper devices. On Ethernet, I think they've only just released, this is very select brands, but a 2 gigabit Ethernet port. And that's obviously going to require a specific type of copper cable. Not every Cat5 cable is going to be able to operate that speeds. Whereas on fiber, we already hit 2 gigs long time ago. we're offering 100 gigs now. So just in terms of scale, in terms of future proofing, it helps reduce installation times as a result of the reduced amount of materials in the field. So you put one fiber switch down and it does everything for you, and thus will help reduce your overheads, meaning your cost to customer is greatly reduced. Having a lowered cost to customer means higher margin for yourself as a business, or a more competitive cost structure that is going to help provide more of an advantage over a competitor. All right, so let's look at some of the BDCOM switches. So any type of switch you want, I've got it for you. We can do it. You let me know what you need and we will provide it. So the nice thing about switches is that as diverse they are, they're quite fixed. So you have 10 by 100 gigabits, you have copper versus SFP, you have 1 gig, 10 gig. There's a whole bunch, and then you've got 8 ports, 16 ports, 24 ports, 48 ports. You've got managed, unmanaged. You have single power supply, dual power supply. You have a high PoE budget, and it's all managed essentially via the cloud, being BDCOM's network management software, which helps you pull all of your devices. So eventually, where I want to see y'all is that you need to be having multiple networks scattered all across East Africa, and you're all managing that centrally via one portal, one BDCOM interface that's helping you manage your fiber, your network switches, all of your devices essentially from one pane of glass. So if anyone has any questions about the BDCOM switches, please let us know. But as I said, we've got everything. We've got data center switches, campus network switches, small office, home office switches, any type of networking switch you need, we've got it for you. All right. So for all of those that have some exposure into fiber networking, or specifically PON. So I don't know if you all know, but GPON is the largest carrier of fiber to the home and fiber to the business customers in the world. Now, I'm not saying BDCOM is the largest, but I'm saying the technology, GPON, gigabit passive optical networking, as you can call it. Huawei Technologies is probably one of the biggest providers of GPON equipment in the world and is a direct competitor to BDCOM. The nice thing is that we've squared up against Huawei GPON and we came out unscathed. They didn't hamper us, they didn't bite us. The only thing that they had was a more recognizable brand name, plus massive amounts of resources that we could just not meet. You know, with some of the Huawei guys, they offer everything, installation, they'll even offer you a router. So when it comes to positioning BDCOM, you need to understand that the technology can be used to build multiple large capacity fiber networks, but its real opportunity comes in smaller builds, you know, subjective independent builds. And I say that, but that's not how we use it in South Africa. We've got two of the largest fiber providers in South Africa using BDCOM, but they know exactly what they want to do with it and how they want to use it. So EPON's perfect for them. And let me tell you guys that getting fiber from one point to another point is pretty much the same. It's a light laser that flashes on and off at an extremely fast pace. And it basically just cascades itself through a fiber cable all the way through to your endpoint, which recognizes it as a receiver and transmits the signal back, authenticating packets. So when you start looking at your GPON build, you need to start thinking, what am I building? That's what we always say to our customers who want to build fiber networks. What are you building? Where are you building it? And the first question, the second question, the third question after that are all related. So what are you building? I'm building a golf estate. Okay, cool. Where are you getting your uplink? That's the first thing. You can't talk about connecting end users without knowing where you're going to connect. Because it's all well and good. Oh, great, I've got an opportunity for 500 homes, but there's no provider within 100 Ks of me. That's why some of our rural areas are still untapped, even in terms of 3G LTEs, just because there's no carrier in that environment. And that's why wireless and some of the products that Hudaco Kenya offers in terms of wireless broadband helps you cover large amounts of distances. But fiber connectivity is what people want because of the speeds that they offer. So you can still create a wireless hybrid network, and that's essentially what we do. So you can look at brands like Radwin. Radwin's an internationally recognized a broadband wireless provider. And what they do is they offer large capacity wireless backhauls, unlicensed, which means that you don't need to get a license from your regulator. You can just use an unlicensed spectrum being 5 gigahertz. And you can set up a backhaul to a university, to a hospital, to a business estate, to a community estate, whatever. You can build a wireless backhaul that's 25 Ks, that's round about 500 megs or 1 gigabit speed throughput. And then after that, you can start building a fiber network and basically run. So you guys must remember, at the end of the day, speed is consistent. The transmission media changes. Whether you're going 100 Ks an hour in a VW Polo or a Ferrari, you're still going 100 Ks an hour. And that's the message that I want to push forward, is that everyone wants fiber connectivity, but a lot of the time we just want good speed. And customers are often, they don't really care what type of transmission medium they have. They just want to get the speeds that they're paying for. Fair enough. So please note that you do not need to have fiber cable in your area in order to deliver fiber services. Find out where your provider is, your closest provider to the opportunity. Know who that is and know if they're selling parts of their network. Most of the time they will be, because that provider does not want to go all the way through to your opportunity to set up 40 homes. But you do, because you will earn more money off of doing that, because all you need to do is buy a fixed amount of equipment, get the data to that side, deliver the BDCOM services, and you're out. Now, the best thing is that for the rest of your life, and I'm not trying to be dramatic, but the rest of the life cycle of that fiber cable, you will earn value from. So your return on that fixed capital investment is infinite, because you can have someone move out of the home, but they don't take their fiber connectivity with them. The fiber connectivity is in their home. So as long as that home is available, and homes, from what I've seen personally, they've got quite a long life cycle. But whether I move out, someone else moves in, they will need to pay you for the fiber services or for the data services. So that's what we're in it for. We're in it for the lifetime customer that will pay you however many dollars a month, every year, for the rest of the time that they will be on your network. And that's the real opportunity, guys. And that's why there's such an aggressive push in Southern Africa for wireless service providers, tier 3 providers, is because there's a lot of end users, there's a lot of people, guys, and we're all data hooked. We're all fixed on data. You know, I always like to look at myself as an end user, because I am one. And I changed my package with my telecommunications provider. I didn't want airtime anymore. I was like, I don't use airtime. I use data intensively. So I stopped getting the message contracts and the data and the airtime. I literally just bought data. I think I lowered my cost by about 200 Rand, and I got like 20 gigs of data every month, which I don't use, but I try. Now I can use data all I want. And let me tell you, I'm a lot happier. So we need to start looking at that. And also, I think it's in Kenya, you guys have a very young average age, very much like South Africa. So what that tells us, guys, is that, you know, our generation are going to be moving into what is the majority of society, and we're all very data intensive people. So fiber's not going anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. Everyone's talking about 5G. That is, again, another trend. 5G can't do jack without fiber. Again, 5G is not just an antenna talking to each other. You need to know what plugs into that antenna. If you're going to be delivering 27 gigs worth of downloadable data, which is what some of the 5G providers are claiming, you're going to need 27 gigs worth of speed and of data going into that antenna and dish. But don't get too excited. It's millimeter wave, which means that you'll literally have to be standing underneath the antenna to get any form of capacity. So look, I personally believe 5G is not as much of an opportunistic channel as it might seem. Unlicensed 5 gigahertz is what's hot right now. To get on that bandwagon, it's easier to install and to distribute video, voice, and data now than it has ever been. There are all sorts of providers. I mean, even if you go and look at the Hudaco Kenya portfolio, there's a lot of different providers that can help you deliver excellent services, but you need to get up and you need to get on that ball. Otherwise, what's just going to happen is that these big tier 2 guys, these monopolies, are just going to continue soaking up all of your opportunities. And let me tell you guys, it's exactly what happened in South Africa. We had 2 big bulls, Vodacom and MTN, and their data prices were just ridiculous. I think globally, and that you can fact check me on this, is that we had the most expensive data pricing in the world. So literally, our entrepreneurs said, you know what, we're going to build our own networks. And that's essentially exactly what they did. Now we've got a huge wireless market, and even MTN and Vodacom are in the competition tribunal for their data prices. So don't wait for the competition tribunal to say, here's an opportunity to start a business. Go and start your business. If you don't know how, talk to Hudaco. We know how. We've done it many times before. We've launched incredible service providers all across the continent. And we have international brands that don't just work in Africa, they work in the US, in the UK, in China, Asia. So we know what we're doing. Trust us. We know how to build solutions. We know how to design solutions. But just on the GPON application, so the main differences between, you would say, GPON and sorry, Kenya, Terry, I'm seeing things here. We have 40 minutes to the end of the session. Wow, so we've got 5 minutes to the end of the session. Oh my gosh. Okay, I am going to try and breeze through this, guys. Sorry, I love BDCOM. I love Hudaco. I can talk about it for hours, and I just did. So apologies, I'm actually only halfway through my presentation. Terry, I apologize profusely. But okay, guys, the main differences between GPON and EPON. GPON offers a higher capacity. It can do up to 2.5 gigs per port. You can sign up 128 customers per port. Now, that's crazy. You get a 16-port GPON LT, you can do around about over 3,000 customers. It's a lot. Dynamic bandwidth allocation. Same with EPON. It's exactly the same, just a bit of a smaller threshold on the bandwidth side of things. And then lastly, ladies and gentlemen, when you're looking at and network management software, it needs to be able to monitor and maintain your network. There needs to be no need to physically or manually log into the OLT on site. You should be able to do that via the web. You should have credential-based user logins, which means that your director, your technical director, is the master admin, and then your support agents are just your regular users that have got a limited amount of administrative rights on your NMS. Scheduling automatic tasks. That means that when you have firmware upgrades, you can schedule it for 12 o'clock at night. Or what you can do is you can monitor your network usage, and you can see exactly, okay, where is that opportunistic moment? Maybe it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, that I can do my firmware upgrades. Schedule that task, automatically does it for you, syncs all of your ONUs that are connected to your network. Easy. And of course, creates a customer-centric service, which means that you get reports, you get alerts that tell you if your BDCOM equipment's down, so that you can go and fix it before the customer even notices, which means we can return our services very, very quickly. And lastly, we're not going to cover this for too much, but BDCOM training, as Terry inclined, we offer an academy, an ICT academy. So please, if you want to even learn about fiber, if you want to learn about wireless, Wi-Fi, IoT, solar, networking, we have an abundance of choice for you. Please reach out to us, reach out to Terry, reach out to Simon, reach out to any of the Hudaco staff. We will be able to get you trained from the comfort of your own home/office, and we do offer accreditation and certification. So please, please, please get trained up, understand exactly what type of technology you want to use, know where to use that technology, and then work with us so that we can deliver that technology to you in a timeless manner. But that brings me to the end of the presentation. I managed to sum up the second half of my presentation in 3 minutes, which was pretty impressive. But yeah, That brings me to the end of my presentation. I don't know, Terry, if you had some closing words that you wanted to just touch on.
Yes, I did, and I do. Thank you so much, Ryan, for that. And yes, we can feel your passion for BDCOM, and we are so honored and really blessed to have you as our product manager. You help us to put BDCOM in the map and position it right for our customers. At this point, I don't see any questions from the participants. Unfortunately, we have to very quickly wrap this up because we've got another webinar session starting in less than a minute. I have shared with you all our YouTube channel details. Please feel free at your own time to visit our page. Continue to follow us at our LinkedIn at Hudaco Kenya. And at this point, I just want to thank you all very much for your time. We appreciate it. We wish you all a great and restful weekend ahead. Thank you very much and goodbye for now. Please join us in another minute for our next webinar session, and our discussion will be on ubiquity. Thank you all.
Thank you, Terry, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.